Yes, we can start now.
Karan, Karan, we can't hear
Karan,
you, Karan. We can't
Karan
hear you, Karan.
co-host. There are two Karans.
Well, I was saying that please unmute me.
And there are two Karans we see. Mirror images.
Mirror
Yes,
images.
yes, Karan, you are on now.
A very good afternoon to the viewers of Informal Webinar, those who are joining us on Facebook and with us on Zoom. Today we have a very amazing session. I can see the number of people join a national holiday is phenomenal. Cyber privacy and how you are tracked on the net. That's very vital now when from booking cabs to doing our online transactions, buying bread, buying milk to getting fuel, our cars, everything is digital. And the entire life, even if you're going for your office, you tell the Facebook before leaving for your office. And when you come back, you update that you're at home. So today we would be discussing this very important aspect. Today we'll be working on this very important aspect, and the guest we have today is an old acquaintance of mine. I first met Mr. Sandeep Suri in the year 2007 as an opposite counsel in one of the matters. And I must tell you about Mr. Suri that he is a very good lawyer and a quintessential opposite counsel. He's a lawyer which everybody would like to have as an opposite counsel. He always preferred, when I first saw his name on one of the petitions in which we were opposing each other, he always writes engineer Sandeep Suri. And now when I asked him one day, he said, Karan, I'm an engineer first. So today's speaker is engineer by his qualification and a lawyer by qualification and profession both. Let's hear to what Mr. Sandeep Suri says about privacy. Mr. Suri.
Thanks, Karan. Yes, we met in 2007 for the first time. The question whether everybody wants me as an opposite lawyer would be a big question mark there now. Okay. Okay, if anybody is interested in getting your digital identity free, you could just send in your surname spelled backwards, your city, your year of birth, your mother's maiden name, and your first name. And you could just SMS it to, this is my number, 700-909-7337. We assure you will get, because this is not something which I am giving. This is something which comes from the UNIDR, that's the United Nations Institute of Digital Research. So if you are interested in getting your identity, please just SMS to me. Okay, cyber. Cyber, it's a very dangerous world, because when we talk of the cyber highway, everything that can go wrong is likely to go wrong. Let's start with one of the most commonest way of hitting us, which sometimes we are actually getting it day in and day out. It's a phishing email. Now, let's take you on a practical phishing email, which I got only yesterday. And let's start with phishing email first. Okay, this is a phishing email, and you can see it that I have got this email on the 1st of October at 2:10 p.m. That's only yesterday. I do not have a PayPal account, and I've got a PayPal reminder that your account access is limited. Similar emails you would have also received similar emails. They may come from Flipkart, they may come from Amazon. What is this? Is this a phishing email? Yes. So what you need to actually look at first is this email actually coming from PayPal? When I take my cursor there, look at the address which is there. Is this PayPal? The answer is no. And when I'm verifying the account, look at the bottom left of your screen. Is it going to a PayPal account? Site, look here. Is it going there? The answer is no. So this email was actually aimed at taking away from me my vitals information. And this is the moment I click here, it tends to give me at the top, save paypalservice.com. If you see that the word service is also not the correct word which has been used at the top. Save PayPal is not PayPal's site. So it asks me for my email ID, because it says log in if you want to confirm it, and whatever I may fill it in is always going to say that your account is not secure. We have noticed an unusual activity. what are they intending to get out of me? Their intention is to get out of me is my personal details, my name, my mother's name, my father's name, whatsoever may be. Look at it here. What you also need to understand is this has been issued to me. When it has been sent to me, my country has already been marked, India. My site, my email ID is suri_csd@yahoo.co.uk, which means that I am already being tagged somewhere. Now, I filled this in with, of course, Donald Trump. And the moment I pressed continue, the next screen was where they wanted to take from me is my credit card details. This, ladies and gentlemen, is an example of a phishing email, which we seem to be getting day in and day out. That was the first one. Let's go on to the second one. Now, if this is the sort of information which is going out, then why is it that this information is important to people? Services which are available on the net. This is whatever I am going to be showing you today are real-time actual emails or actual documentation which has been taken out from various sites. This is taken out from a Telegram site, a Telegram group, where they say, hello, all legitimate buyers. I'm selling all kind of credit card details, including CC, CVV, fulls, dump, etc. Now, if this is the sort of information which is required by them, this is the information which they are seeking from us by using the phishing mails concept. Now, look further. This information is being sold. This is from a site called Legit Master. Now, they are selling all this dump there. Now, what is this information? This information is the information that belongs to me. And this is the information which I am unwittingly giving out every time I am going onto the net. What is being sold on the net? They say, avail my services to hack Android phones, hack Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. This is the money that they're going to charge, 1 SMS per number. We are looking at Riya Chakravarti. Now, if those sort of information is going out, and where is that information going out from? Now, this all sorts of information is there, which we need to take care and welcome to this webinar on cybersecurity. We are talking about cyber privacy. We are talking about you. We are talking about myself, because the only person who can save me or save yourself is you yourself. There is nobody and nothing else that can save you. The first question I'm going to ask you is, do you actually care about your privacy? We live in a world of a privacy paradox. If I offer you 200 rupees and tell you I give you this offer for the purposes of that you share with me your personal identity information, we do not think twice before giving it out, because we are getting a voucher from, say, Flipkart or Amazon. But for the same thing, if you need to spend 50 rupees to save your own personal identity, then what is our response? Our response is no. I will prefer to buy a voucher, get a voucher of 200 rupees by compromising and giving out my personal information and data, rather than paying 50 rupees to save my own information. As we work on the digital highway, each one of us has a unique identity. This unique identity by which we are being identified by today is, of course, this is something I asked you. If you sent in the SMS, if you've not sent it, you would still do it. But by and large, how we are now being recognized on the cyber highway is through our unique email ID. How many people actually know me by name on the cyber highway? They know me by my email ID. And what are the steps that we are taking for the purposes of protecting our password? Our password is the gateway to our future. Our password is the gateway to whatever belongs to us. Our password is the gateway to my personal identity. Yet, when it comes to our password, we do not think twice of the sort of password that we are creating for ourselves. What you see before yourself is the top 10, 20 most commonly used passwords. And these are not passwords which I have made. This comes from the National Cybersecurity Center. Out of 100 million passwords which have been leaked, do you see your own password there? Do you see at number 4? Because I will show you how many of us are using the word password as the password of our own password. How many of us are using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Have you ever thought about it? Now, these are the most commonly used 20 passwords. And if your password figures in this list, it is time for you to rethink about it. I put you a few questions on a survey which I did. Now, I put you a few questions which were there. Now, does your password contain your name? Out of 855 responses, 30%, that is about 240 of you have said that it contains your name. Is your name not available for everybody else to know? Do I not know your name if I am interacting with you? And if that is so, how difficult is it for me to break your password? Does it contain your surname? About 50% have said yes, it contains the surname. Let's go further. Birthday date or year of birth. Is this not your birthday date which you have put on your Facebook, on your Instagram? Is it not available in perhaps those high court lists which are there? Is it not available on varied platforms? Please look at this. 327, 22.5% say that your password contains your date of birth. Now, these are the sort of information which is perhaps available in the public domain. If I know you, do I not know your family members? How difficult is it for me to go into the Facebook and try to look for who are your family members there? What is their name? How difficult is it going to for me to break into your password by using this? Ladies and gentlemen, I asked you, how many of us are using 1, 2, 3, 4, ABCD and the word password as a password? Please look at the one in yellow and look at the and these are which have been taken over a period of the last 6-7 months. I have got 10.6% who say that they use the word password as a password. And if you remember that list which I showed you, it was the number 4 of the most commonly used password which is available on breached sites. Unfortunately, I find that children are perhaps better in choosing a password rather than adults. When I talked about 20 years or elders, we had 10.5%, but above 50 years, I am talking of 11.2%. I am a man who's above 50 years. My whole life, my whole money, everything about me is being controlled by things which I have put on the net. Yet, I do not take adequate precautions. If you are using these words, please change it right now. What is the password length? As we go further, you would see that your password length is directly responsible and proportional to how much time it would take to break your password. Well, because 8 characters became necessary, so we've got about 70% who've got 8 characters, but look at number of 12 characters. It's minimal. And 8 characters is a time which is not good. For breaking into 8 characters, it's not going to take me a long time to break it. A dictionary. Again, 13% of you are using a word which finds mention in a dictionary. If I am a cyber hacker, if I want to break into your email ID or various other platforms that you are working on, the first thing I'm going to do is pick up that list of the most common used passwords. And secondly, I'm going to feed the dictionary and I'm going to just run it. And this is the amount of and I'm going to just break into your password. Now, I also asked you, who knows your password? Is it stored on your mobile? Is it stored on your, has it been shared with anybody else? Unfortunately, 34% have said that either somebody else knows about it or it has been stored on your mobile. It's about 19% say out of, let's say about 20% of 1457, that would be approximately about 280 people. They say that you have stored your password in your mobile. Is your mobile also not running on your Gmail account? Or if it's your iPhone, is it not using your particular email account? And if your mobile gets stolen, how much time is it going to take for that person to break into your email ID? How much time is it going to take to break into not only your email ID, but also into your bank account? Has it been written on your table? Has it been written in your diary? Have you shared it with somebody? If you shared it with somebody, it's time for you to change it. It is time for you to save yourself. Now, look at your keyboard. Look at that top row or the second top row of your keyboard. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do we look at the ampersands and the hyphens and the dollar signs and the brackets there? 50% of us do not use any of these, either those numbers or those special characters, for the purposes of making a password, which makes our password very, very weak. Now, let us have a look of what are the 10,000 most commonly used passwords. This is a list of 10,000 most commonly used passwords. If your password is weak, ladies and gentlemen, if your password was the password which you are using of your password, then this is the time it's going to take for me to break it. Does your password find anywhere mentioned here, QWERTY? It's a very difficult password, but if you look at your keyboard, it's perhaps one of the easiest thing to do. And if these are the passwords which are available on the net, then if it is available to me, then it is available for anybody else also to break into it. Now, how secure is your password? Yeah, did you hear it right? How secure is your password? Let me just check it out. If yours was one of the passwords which you were using, I go to this particular site called howsecureismypassword.net. Suppose you were using your own name as your password, and I showed you about 20% are using your own name as your password. Let us take Karan. This is the amount of time it is going to break your password. Let us say put in Vishal. If your password was your own name, 7 milliseconds. So please do not use your own names. The length of your password directly is responsible for how much time it is going to take to break your password. Let's go further. Now, okay. Few things that you need to keep in mind while choosing your own password is your password at least 12 digits long? You would say 12 digits is a very long password. How am I going to remember it? Point 2, does it contain uppercase, lowercase letters, symbols, and numbers? That first row, that second row on your keyboard. Is the password unique? Is it not coming from a dictionary? And has it been changed in the last few months? Has it been changed in the last few months? How many of you have changed your password? We'll come to that a little later. Don't use a word password and just put in an ampersand instead of an A and a 0 instead of an O. That will not make your password strong. It's something not good to do. Don't use a black doggy and just have a similar A and a O shifted. It's not a good thing to do. This is one of the passwords which I devised for myself. Is it easy to break in? The answer would be no. But is it easy to remember? The answer is yes. It is very easy to remember, provided you set up for yourself a dictum of what you are going to do in a particular manner. Please use the different characters which are there. All these characters which are there, 88 of them. Look at the bottom row. This is what changes the strength of your password. number of possible combinations which can take place, and whosoever is from us who is from mathematics, from a mathematics background, you can understand the power of 2 to the power of 2, 3 to the power of 3, or 10 to the power of 10, the number of combinations it can generate. So if you are using a 5-character password, the number of combinations it's going to generate is about 60 million. But ladies and gentlemen, the computer that you hold in your own hand right now, that mobile that you hold in your hand today, it is capable of generating up to 2 billion keys per second. And this is the amount of time it is going to take to break in, 0.03 seconds, 60 million combinations. Now, 7 characters is going to give me a 1028 million characters. But again, it's going to take only 9 minutes in case anybody is interested in breaking it through a normal computer by using brute force. 8 characters, it goes to 2.6 days. Now, 9 characters, it goes to about 9.1 years. And what do we have here? 7.5 million years, if it's going to be at 2 billion keys per second. But when we talk of a computing power which exists today, a higher end computer compared to the computer that you hold in your hand right now, which is capable of generating 2 billion keys per second, this is capable of generating 100 billion keys combinations per second. And if it is 100 billion combinations per second, your 8-character password that you've been using is only going to take 12 minutes, which was otherwise going to take about 2.6 days. So the length of your password is directly proportional to what is the protection that you have on the net. What is your favorite poem? What is your favorite song? What is your favorite Takya Kalam? Just remember that. Now, for example, you would use that for the purposes of making your own password. For example, I would make for myself a line. I started working in the Punjab and Haryana High Court in 1997. It could be just any line that is your favorite. And what I did was I used the first 2 letters of this particular combination of words. I'm using the word combination of words because it's something unique to me. You cannot identify that this is a line which I'm making for myself. And I'm using the first 2 characters, and I set up for myself a unique password, which is like this. I started ST working in the first 2 letters, Punjab and Haryana High Court in 1997. And what do I have here? Now, I have set up a dictum for myself where I have converted a O into a 0. You could do it into a 9 or whatever it is there. You could convert a 1 into a exclamation mark. You could convert a 9 into a dollar or whatever, but this is the combination which I have used. And this is the strength of the password which I have. Now, is this difficult to remember? It is not difficult to remember because this is a combination of words which only I know and I remember, and it's not difficult for me to break into, to keep using it over and over again. Now, if this was so, now let us see what would be the kid working in the Punjab and Haryana High Court in, I said exclamation mark, and then I used, instead of 9, I was using an ampersand, say a dollar sign, and then a 7. This is the amount of time it is going to take to break in. So I'll say it is virtually impossible to break it. However, having said that, what is necessary to remember is do not use the same password on different sites. Suppose I'm using on Facebook. So I go to Instagram, I go to Snapchat, I go to Gmail. If I have the same password and if that one password is broken, then is not it true that all the passwords of all my combinations on all other sites is now available to a person? The answer is yes. So what I do is, when I go to Facebook, I put an F at the beginning and I put a B at the end. So I have a different password here. When it comes to say Gmail, I put a GM at the first. You could devise your own methodology of doing it. And I have now about a 22 character password, which is not going to be easy to break in. And it's not going to be difficult to remember also. So set up your own dictums there. Not a good guy when it comes to passwords. I'll take you to my own site. Let us see how I have been using passwords in the recent past. You could go to yourself, you could go on your system yourself, just type in passwords.google.com, and this will give you a list of what passwords that you have used on your Gmail account at the different sites by which you attached your Gmail account to that. Now, what I have here is, see, I wanted to do a password check. I said, okay, here I do a password check. I need to just key it in, just need to re-log in. Now, this situation which is existing for me may perhaps be also existing for a lot of you. It says they have checked 298 passwords. That is because I have gone to 298 sites from the time I've started using Google. I have put in my password there. 50 compromised passwords are there. This password which I'm using on Book My Show, Business Standard, Case Law Journal, these are all passwords which already stand compromised. Swiggy. Now, and it also shows me that on 198 sites, I have reused the same password. It is one of the worst things I can do to myself. 50 compromised passwords, 198 reused passwords. Now, you could just try it yourself also, and you'll get a very fair idea of how you are also working on that. So now if I have a password which is long, and the question arises is, am I going to remember a different password for these 420 odd sites which I went to? The answer would be no. So I would use what is known as a password manager. Now there are different types of password managers there, LastPass, Dashlane, or 1Password. Now what these password managers do is that they have one main password by which you are going to be, there's one main password, which may be say 20, 30, 40, whatever is that characters you want. It should be very, very strong. And then it is going to start generating an independent different password every time when you are going to a different site. So it helps to protect your multiple sites in case even if one of your sites gets breached and your password or your email ID is lost from there. Please activate two-factor authentication. What does the two-factor authentication do for your emails? One, it is talking of multiple things. One is your own password. Two, it sends an SMS or a message to your mobile. It is something that you have. And to open that something that you have, which is your mobile, you would be requiring again either your biometrics or you would be have to filling in your particular passcode there. So there are 3 levels of authentication which are taking place there. So two-factor authentication when it comes to your passwords is very, very necessary. We above the age of 45 to 65, if you look at the right hand side, the number of people who about 40% of us, 47, more than 47, we have very less not strong passwords which are there. Okay, let's go further. I have taken all precautions for the purposes of saving my password. Good enough. But what happens if my email ID is hacked? If it is found in a breach site? Google has been breached, Yahoo has been breached, you name it. Everybody has been breached. Recently, Twitter accounts were also taken over. Barack Obama's account was taken over. So where do we stand? Perhaps nowhere. Has your account, does it find mention on any of the sites which has already been breached? Go to this site called haveibeenpwned.com. You could just type it in, haveibeenpwned.com. Just put in your email ID there and it will tell you whether your email was part of a breached site and what is the sort of information that you lost. I put in my own email ID there, and look at this, 15 breached sites. It was 14 about 2 months back. I've touched 15. And what is the sort of information that has gone there? Let us see what is the last one which has gone there. 2020, June 2020, a site called Wattpad. That's where I've been doing a lot of reading. And what is the sort of information which has been lost from there? My biodata, my date of birth, the date of birth, which I can use for the purposes of using your, anybody can get into my bank accounts, my email addresses, because if I'm using the same email addresses on my bank account, whether I'm a male or a female, my geographic location. Remember that India, which was there, I showed you on that first phishing site. Where is it coming from? This information is coming from one of those breach sites, like what is there in front of you. My IP address. What does my IP address tell me? Tell you? My IP address tells you exactly where I am located, my name, my password. Now, if Wattpad had the same password which I've been using on my bank ID, then anybody can just break into it and take out my money from there. Social media profiles. Let's go further. Zomato. How many of us have been using Zomato? How many of our family members have been using Zomato? 2017, they lost my email address, they lost my password, they took out my username. But is that all? Let us have a look how many sites are we actually aware of who have lost our information. Let us talk about India. Let us talk about a site which we have been going to very, very regularly. Though since March, I don't think we've been doing it. November 2019, Indian Railways, 2 million records exposed to an unprotected Firebase database instance. What was lost? Email addresses, passwords, usernames. If your email ID was there, then I'm sorry, and you've not changed your password after that, then you are in trouble. Now, let's have another look. Let's look at, is the password which I was using already been hacked? Is it part of the database of 10 million records or 100 million records which was already there? Now, what I am putting in is one of the earlier passwords. When I was an ignoble person, I would not understand what cyber privacy was all about. Because I was Sandeep Suri and Sandy was the most commonest thing that I would remember for myself. So I used Sandy as a password, SANDY. Okay, and let us see what happened here. This password which I was using has been seen 41,087 times before. I started using SANDY, 1,339 times. If you are using an acronym of your own name, then God save you. This is the level of protections that we have to take care of. Now, this we've already touched. Has your password been breached? Now, I asked you a question because I've shown it to you that if my email ID or my password has been breached, and I showed you that my Sandy was the one that had been broken onto 50 different compromised sites, then what was the possibility of how many of us are actually doing that? Do you use the same password on different sites? 37% have said yes. If Zomato was breached and you were using Zomato, or the Indian Railways was breached, then your password on the other site, which was perhaps your banking site, has also been lost. Do not reuse your password. Look at the bottom line. As we continue to grow up in age, as we get more wizened, as our experience increases, our digital literacy continues to decrease. We continue to reuse because it is much more convenient. 40% of adults above the age of 50 years, which would include a person like me, we are reusing our passwords. And for a person like you and me above, say 40, 45, our whole life, our whole money, everything is there now on the net. So please take care on that. When was the last time you changed your password? Put your hand to your heart and ask yourself, when did you change it? On the cyber highway, we are talking of milliseconds, we are talking of nanoseconds, even milliseconds is large. And I asked you within 3 months, let's forget 3 months, we've got 57% of the people who have not changed their password in the last 3 months. And I'm talking of nanoseconds. And 21% out of 1,460 people have said, that's about 300, have said that they have never changed your password. Sir, your password was breached on the Indian Railway site. You did not change it. Who knows your password? So by this, okay, we've already handled that. That's okay. So the best practices for password security is update your passwords regularly, never reuse your passwords. Passphrases are king when it comes to security. Protect critical accounts with 2 or multi-factor authentication. Never store your passwords in plain text. That's one thing to it. Safe cyber. How to spot a fake website. Ensure that the site has an an S there. S means it's a secured site. Let us go, for example, onto this particular site. My browser itself is showing that it is not a secured site. It itself is showing that the S is not there. Please, if it is not an S is not there, do not put in anything which affects your personal identity or gives out your personal identification information. 2, you can check out on sites like Scam Advisor. Let us say whether this particular site, because okay, when I go to a site like Amazon or go to Flipkart, I know they are good sites. But when I go to any other sites, then we actually look at, is that site a valid site or not? Okay, let us go to a site, say Scam Advisor, and let us put in this, say, boxdelegates.top. This is one of the sites which we've been, just a minute. Okay, just while it does it. Okay, here it is. Now, this tells me for this particular site, making a search through various platforms is what is the risk involved. We found this site on a threat list. So if you take some basic precautions where you are trying to put in some information, that especially your personal information, please be careful about that. Just because there's a logo on your site does not mean that that site is valid. Now, look at this site. Is this a yahoo.com and a google.com? Think of this if you are opening this on your mobile. Would you be able to make out the difference between what is happening here? This was not yahoo.com. It was a yahoo.com. I replaced a 0 with an O, or vice versa. Now, why cyber crime is on the rise is because 80 to 90% of the time we are consuming data. We are surfing on the net because we are using a very small screen, which does not give me a fair picture of what is there on the screen. How many times have you actually looked at the site you have gone to whenever you've tried to search anything on your mobile? And how many times have you been able to identify whether this site was a valid site? Let us take ICICIbank.com. On my mobile, if it is mentioned as LCLCL bank.com, would I be able to make a distinction between the two? The answer would be no. Now this is one of the sites which is a phishing site. Now this is a phishing site, ladies and gentlemen. This is a site which I have made. Now this is strictly only for the purposes of demonstration. Unfortunately, their site is down. Otherwise, I would have shown a comparison to you. As I told you, just because there is a logo there does not mean it is a valid site. Look at the top left. Would you be able to see it on your phone? The answer is no. This is a phishing site which has been made by me. It goes onto my site. And this is the total information which is there. This is identical what you would find on an HDFC Ergo site. Now, if you went to this particular site and you logged in anything, then this information that you would key in here would information that would not go to HDFC Ergo, but would come to me. This telephone number, which you are there, if you are trying to make a call from your mobile set, this would not ring with HDFC Ergo. This would not ring with the insurance company. This would ring on my telephone number. So you need to be very careful of what you are doing, what particular site, any particular link is taking you to. Now, look at the spelling, the punctuation, the capitalization, the grammar mistakes which are there. Because a person who's into trying to get information out of you, he's not going to spend so much of time to make it the best site on the world. He's not going to take sufficient care about all these things. Look at the contact section. Where does the contact section take you to? Now, let us see this. Okay, just a minute. Let me take you back there. Where did the contact section take you to? Now, this site is again, the whole contact section is there. This site invariably you would find would not take you to any contact section because it is not there. Okay, I'll show you that live one which I had there earlier. Here, okay, here it is. See, whatever I do here, it does not take me anywhere. Why? Because if it takes me anywhere, then I would have gone out of the particular area where we were working on. So if your contact section or your security, or if you do not find a telephone number there, if you do not find an address there, the chances are that it is a phishing site. Let's go further. Are you getting an offer which is too good to be true? Example, 80% off on your iPhone, walk away from it. You could use this, you could just note it down. One of the very interesting sites, in fact, I would want to take you to there is, these are all names of sites. I'll take you to say virustotal.com. Now, this is a very interesting site, which actually, if you are receiving an email, which may contain an attachment, number one, you should not open an attachment from an unknown person. But if you are actually receiving an email and you have an attachment, you could feed it, upload the attachment here, and it would check out whether this particular site is it infected file. You may also use it on your search for a URL. For example, this is my site. It is doing a search on varied and innumerable number of virus scanners, and it gives me on 75 scanners, it has done a search and it says that it is clean there. So if you use these small basic things when you are trying to going onto the net, it might save you a lot of money later. Now, services available on the net, I told you your privacy was for sale. We talked about how everything about me, including my credit card, my CCTV information, online payments, everything was being sold there. Let us take, for example, Ashley Madison. I am sure it might just bring a slight smile on a lot of faces. However, for people who are not aware of Ashley Madison is, as you look at it, is life is short, have an affair. It had about 22 million anonymous members when it got breached. Ashley Madison said that that you are anonymous on the web. For any person who comes onto this particular site for the purposes of having an affair, your information would not go out. However, unfortunately, this information was not secure. And when this site got breached, information, including names, including email IDs, including male, female, and in certain cases, even age, went out. This information was used by cyber criminals to start sending emails. Suppose I was there on that site. Now, my information came out from Ashley Madison that I was on Ashley Madison. Flag number one, I have been going on to sites for having an extramarital affair. Flag number two, My Zomato account, my Railways account got breached. My password got breached. My password came out. Now, what is this person who's a cyber criminal? He's got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different types of data. He runs it through his system, finds Suri_CHD. This is the email. He was on Ashley Madison. This is his password, which he was there from Zomato. Now, this was a password that he was using. And I start getting these mails. I won't beat around the bush. I do know Sandy is your password. Email is mine. Sandy is my password. What is it? What happens? First thing, my reaction. Here is somebody who's broken into my system. He knows more about me than perhaps I know. He knows he's broken into my system. What he says, most importantly, I know about your secret and I have evidence of it. You do not know me and no one paid me to investigate you. He goes on further to say that I have installed a malware into your system. I've taken photographs of your misdemeanors. And he says, if I have, since I have videos about you, next email which comes to me is, he sends me, he says, this is the links, these are the sort of images which I have about you. Of course, that image he's not going to provide me. He says, I switched on your webcam and I have taken out all that information. What happens? He says, pay me money, pay me Bitcoins. What happens? I say, my password is known to him. He's hit me right on my personal email ID. He knows about me. He knows I went to XYZ different sites. I start paying him money. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is only a scam. He knows nothing about you. He got that password from a site which was breached. He got that email ID from a site that was breached. And these are the sort of scams which are taking place. Investment scams. What happens? Actually, this is being hit at a lot of our adults. They discover an opportunity like I go onto the net, or you go onto the net. You went onto the site, say HDFC Argo, you were looking for a policy or you were looking for an investment to be made. You gave a call there, you left an information there. I called you back. And what happened is, okay, I built up a trust with you, invest 10,000 rupees. Don't invest too much. You start building up a trust. You invest 10,000 rupees. After 3 months, I say, see, your 10,000 has become 30,000 or 20,000. So your 10,000 remaining is interest. Here is your principal of 10,000. Have I lost anything? No, because your 10,000, I've returned that 10,000. Now I tell you, please invest on something which will give you a higher return. 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 10 lakhs. I built that trust in you. And once I built in that trust, you start giving me 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 15,000 or 50,000, whatever it is. You don't see anything about me again, or you see your money again. Same thing is happening in dating and romance scams. With the advent of COVID, when a lot of, especially females, women, married, unmarried, divorcees, whatever may it be, they are staying at home. Dating and romance scams have increased. The scammers create fake online profiles, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, name it. You'll find a face profile there. And they start approaching gullible people who can fall for them. And then they once they have built up that trust, start taking money. There is a story of a woman in Australia who falls into love with a so-called British soldier. And this British soldier says that I am in Bangkok. Please come and meet me there. This lady goes to Bangkok. Of course, that British soldier is not there, he calls her up. I have not been able to come because of XYZ reasons. Somebody will give you a packet. Please take this packet back with you. A packet is given to her. And the moment she crosses customs, she is arrested because it was containing drugs. Now, this particular lady had fallen into love with somebody on the net who was never in existence. They were all scammers. And I will not take the figures here, but the recent trend, what we have seen in the information that has been trickling in, especially on the ones which I've done, the same sort of quizzes which I've done, this has increased 3 to 4 times in the last 6 months. Okay, you say I have nothing to hide. Why should I be afraid of anything? Let's talk about your digital life. Okay, let's forget about your digital life. Let's talk about your child's digital life. How many times have you posted about your nephew, niece, your daughter, your son, or they have posted about themselves on Facebook, Messenger, Instagram? Have you thought about it? From the time that little child was born, from the little time that he started crawling, was that not photograph put there? From the time he started running, from the first time he went to school, was that information not put there? Was that as time elapsed, did I not place information because I was a little caught up because my son was acting like a brat, and I started putting that information on Facebook, looking for guidance, that it's becoming very difficult to handle him. At the age of 14, he performed very badly in mathematics, and I said, he is very poor in mathematics, can somebody help me? At the age of 16, I put in that information looking for help, that my son has this XYZ medical issue. This information which I put there is there forever. It's never gone out from there. It's never been removed. And this information would be used by people, by data miners, to be used against me whenever it is to be used. For example, now my son goes for an interview with Amazon. I had put in there that he is very poor in mathematics or very poor in English. Amazon has said so, that 7, and Google also says so, 7 out of 10 we reject on the basis of the information that we collect out of data mining from various sites of the information which comes there. Now, my son may have done his master's in English after that, but because he was flagged as a bad student when he was 14 years old, it went out. He was flagged with a medical issue when he was 16 years old. He went out. What happens when a medical claim is raised? Would your insurance company not be interested in getting this information about you? That you had a problem when you were age 16 years old. Would your insurance company not be interested in this information to reject your claim? The answer is yes. And all of them are doing it. And who is responsible for this? You are responsible for this. You are responsible for giving all this information which is there. 1,300 photos are uploaded to social media by the age of 13. I am talking only by the age of 13. This is the time when a child does not do it himself or herself. This is the time when an adult is doing it. 26 times the post on social media by the age of 18. That's the time when the child starts taking over. Between 2 to 6 years, and I'm talking of rural Western India, 2.7 hours a day. Rural Western India. I'm talking of rural where there is no digital literacy. 2015, 62.4% of children are spending up to 4 hours a day, and COVID is 6 hours a day. This is the sort of time and the information which is being given out. 500 million internet users in the year 2023, and is a fraction of this time that the child which spends on the internet. Is it monitored? Are we as adults trained to understand the problems which come with the internet? It's a question you need to ask yourself. It's a question you need to ask your friends. It's a question we need to ask everybody. India is, as a result, become the child pornography capital of the world. The most online content on child sexual abuse comes from India. 1.9 million reports. That's 11.7% of the total reports worldwide. Why? Because that child to whom that mobile set has been given, he has not been made to understand what are the pitfalls of the internet. He has not been made to understand that you will not talk to a stranger. We do it ourselves. We'll come to that a little later. Forget about a child. How many times are we going to be doing it? That was pornography. We are talking of cyberbullying. India, 37%. 2.4 million cases of child abuse in 2017. 300 children are sexually abused in India every day. And this is something which has been going up. This curve has been going up, exponentially up in the last, say from 2011, 2012. It is time for you, it is time for me to stop and think. What is happening to the data, my data? Am I using Google? Am I using Facebook? Am I using Instagram? Am I using it, or am I being used? Am I the product? It is time for us to rethink. It is time for us to relook. Okay, what is the biggest lie in the world? A lot of us are lawyers here. We are expected not to do anything unless and until we have actually read it. I agree. How many times have we actually read the terms and conditions? Are we, no, don't say that because I'm not paid for it, so I don't read it. The answer is that I do not read those terms and conditions at all. Why? One of my opening lines. I will not spend 50 rupees to protect my privacy, but if I'm getting a 200 rupees coupon, I will give out all my personal details. It's true for all of us. And we do not read what is happening. What is happening on the net? Let us, now of course, Google has opened this up. Is Google tracking us? Where was I on 23rd of January 2015? You could try it yourself. Just key in myaccount.google.com. You could just do it on your system also. myaccount.google.com. And, or you could do it on your mobile. If you just go there, if you have a Gmail account, go to data and personalization and go to timeline. It's myaccount.google.com, data and personalization, and go to timeline. Okay, this gives me from the time when I went on to Google, I have been at 806 places where I was last. Everything, whatever I have done is in their knowledge. So I asked myself, where was I in 2015? Do you remember where you were 5 days back, 10 days back, 1 year back? No, you don't remember it. But Google does remember you. Google knows everything that you've been doing. So here it is, 20th of January, 2015. I was traveling from the High Court. I've been to the district and session judge. This is the time, 9:47 a.m. I left the house. I went to the High Court, that is the Capitol complex. 21st of January, I traveled to Delhi. 22nd of January, I took a flight to Italy. 23rd of January, I pause here. Now, what does Google tell me? Google tell me, if you were the person who's gone into this data and this data has gone out, it tells I stayed in a hotel which is Courtyard by Marriott, which is a 5-star hotel. Now, one of the breach sites also said that this is the particular mobile set I have been using. Now, when that mobile set is combined, if I was using an S10 or a Note 10 or a Note 20 today, and I am a person who's also staying at a Marriott hotel, would a cyber criminal not be more interested in breaking into me and taking out my personal information and breaking into my accounts? The answer is yes. It also further goes on to tell me, it tells me where I have traveled, what time I have traveled, as you see here. And perhaps more importantly, as I take you further, those photographs which I also took are also being recorded and they have been saved there. Now, what does a photograph tell me? A photograph is a photograph, a simple photograph like that black and white or that colored photograph which I have in my album? The answer is no. This photograph contains a lot of metadata. It contains information in respect of what time it was taken, where, the longitude and the latitude. This photograph is giving, it has information exactly of the longitude and the latitude where it has been taken. Now, if this sort of information is going out and if this is the same photograph which I've also put on the net, then what is the possibility of things going bad? Does a person not know where I have been and what I have been doing? Let's go a little further. Let's go back to data and personalization. Let us now look at my activity. Okay. Now what I am doing here is on my own phone, I am going to be saying, okay, Google, are you tracking me? Okay, Google, are you tracking me? Okay. Now, this is what I have recorded here. Now, let us see what sort of information pops up here. See, what is the time here? 1705, 1704. Okay, Google, are you tracking me? Every word, it is not only every step that you've taken out of your house which has been tracked. Every word that you have also said is also being tracked. How many of us have a Google Home or an Alexa? What do we say? Okay, Google. What do we say? Hi, Alexa, and it starts responding to me. Is it only waiting for me to, is it just switching on at that particular period of time? The answer is no. It is waiting for me to use those particular magical words. Okay, Google. And the moment I use those magical words, what happens is it starts responding to me. And the moment it starts responding, that means it is listening into me 24/7. This device which I have in front of me, this mobile that you are carrying, your most important gadget that you have is listening into you 24/7. I talked to you about that photograph also. Now, I come with a caveat here that everything which I'm showing you is from free sites. I'm not used any paid sites or anything here. So I take you to this particular site, and you remember that photograph that I showed you, it was containing the metadata of my, of what I've been doing. So this is only a demonstration which I'm showing you here. Now, this particular site, if I go to this site and I use a paid version of this, then everything and anything that I have put on the site here, I can set up a geofencing area. That is, suppose I am in India, I can say that in India, if this particular area, what are the photographs which have been uploaded? Now, suppose this is the photograph which was uploaded here. Now, this is a photograph which has been uploaded. Okay. This photograph, for all you know, could be the photograph of my daughter. It could be a photograph of my son, of my nephew, or my niece. And once this photograph is there, what is the sort of information which is also being made available? It gives me the creation date, the file type, the image dimension, on what it has been taken. And as I keep increasing the size, I can also, where was this photograph taken, the exact latitude and the longitude. If this photograph was taken, say, in my house, the exact longitude and the latitude of this house would also be available. It's just taking a little time to log in, just charge up. So if, suppose this was a photograph of any of my family members, and this would not you be able to obtain an information about my daughter, of my son? Would you not be interested? Let us say, okay, this photograph is there. Now, what is happening is this particular location up to the street where it has been taken is there. The particular location has also been identified. Is what I am doing, is that photograph which I have pasted on Facebook, is it safe? The answer, ladies and gentlemen, is for you to decide yourself. Is that photograph of that burger that you took, or your wife took, or your daughter took, is it not giving out more information about her or about you than you would care for? Am I not being tracked by every this most common pillars which are there throughout our country? Is it not tracking us 24/7 because it is giving me a signal? The answer is yes. I asked you, did you agree to everything? The answer is yes, we agree to everything. Today, we do not give an informed consent. It's a fantasy today. How many times do we read the conditions of use? Let us go to, say, Facebook, Facebook's condition of use. I'll take you to actual Facebook's conditions of use. Okay, here it is. As we go here, this is Facebook's data policy. Of course, it has been made by somebody from one of the bigger law firms who've made a lot of money out of writing a lot of jargon into this. Because if that jargon is not written, then it would give out a lot of things. Let us say reveal. This policy describes Facebook, Instagram, Messenger. Today, it also talks about WhatsApp. We collect information when you use our products, when you sign up for an account, create or share account. This can include metadata, or what you see through our camera, metadata, that photograph that you took. Data with special protections, your religious views. Is the government of the day not interested? Is the political views, is the government of the day not interested? Is my health not of interest to my insurance company? The answer is yes. We collect people, pages, accounts, hashtags, groups. What particular people am I talking about? The very fact that you and me are today interacting, there is somebody who's looking into it and can get the data that yes, 56, 70, 100 of us are together and we have a certain sort of a connection somewhere. the types of content you view, engage, your debit card number, your credit card, billing, your device information, the TVs, your web connected devices, your operating system. Are you using a web based device? What are you using? What is your storage space, your browser? How is anybody interested in it? Your mouse movements. Pause here. Mouse movements, which means that every time that you have been to any site has been recorded. And I'm saying it has been recorded whether you had Facebook on or you had Facebook off. It has been recording your Bluetooth signals, your GPS location, camera, photos, name of your mobile operator, your IP address. I would want you to pay specific attention to your IP address also. We'll come to that a little later. But please look at this. Advertisers, app developers, and publishers provide information about your activities of Facebook. Activities of Facebook, including our websites you visit, purchases you make, the ads you see, how you use their services, quote unquote, whether or not you have a Facebook account or are logged into Facebook. Now, if you in the year 2004, 2010, ever you have opened a Facebook account, Facebook has been following you whether or not you are using Facebook. And yes, it has been doing so. I can show you because this information from my own Facebook site, I went to their site of, if anybody would be interested, I can share it with you a little later, of their privacy and the details, where you can download information of what information they have of Facebook activity. I'm sorry, I would not be able to show you an immediate one because that did not get downloaded. But April 11, 2020, because I downloaded this information on about 15th of April, 2020, it said that I've been to 383 apps and websites who have shared your activity with us. Ladies and gentlemen, April 11, I went to this site. I went to a site called ICICI Lombard for the purposes of just checking out a policy on 10th of January. And this whole information is available with Facebook. I never consented to Facebook to collect my information. But though I would not be using my Facebook account, they're still getting this information. How am I being tracked? Let's go to a very interesting site. Let us say this is, we feel that if I've been to one site, then I am not being tracked because I've been to only one site. Okay, here I go to Mozilla and I take a reset data here. Okay, this is one of the programs which is available. It's again free. You could do it yourself. These are some of the sites that we've been regularly going to. I go to Make My Trip, see what happens here. I go to Zomato, see what happens here. Now, see what is happening. Now, these two sites are sharing information. This information, I go to Book My Show, I do some personal banking, I open that site, I do some Swiggy, and I do a little HDFC also. That's the bank I go to. See what is happening. When I go to one particular site, it is not that one site alone which is collecting my information. This information is being shared amongst them, again amongst various sites. Now, because I have been to that one site, you look here, they are still connecting with other sites and getting all that information. 6 sites, 9 third-party sites, 10 third-party sites. With passage of time, as we come back to this, we'll just come back to this a little later and see how many places this information is being shared with. Do you know of this site? Ajax, Google Apps. Do you know of this site in BM? Did you consent to give information here? The answer is no. But Zomato, Book My Show is sharing this information with all of them. Why? Because my information is money. My information is something that they are interested in. My information is something that makes the mayor go. Let's come back to this a little later. You go to a, we've been using, say, You read the newspaper Times of India. You read the newspaper, the Hindustan Times. A lot of our friends send in a lot of information on our groups of all those 10 different newspapers that we seem to be getting every day. Now, this is when I go to Hindustan Times or I go to India Times or go to the Times of India, is my information only being retained by them? Let us have a look at it. Now I go to this, I've chosen India as a country. You could go to trachography.org. I go to say, I read the Economic Times. I read the Forbes India off and on. I read the Hindustan Times. And I say, I also read the say Deccan Herald, correct? So these are the 4 newspapers which I do tend to read at different times. Look at the number of countries this information, that because I have gone to Times of India, where this information has gone to. It has gone to the US, it has gone to Ireland, it has gone to UK, it has gone to France, it has gone to Netherlands, it's gone to Germany, it's gone to our good old friend China, Australia, Japan. And look at the list of, this was countries, okay, let's have a list of these companies where it has gone to. Lotam, Comscore, what are these companies? These are companies who are only interested in collecting information. They are data mining companies. That every step that I've taken is going here, 730 days. AppNexus of the information which I've done on Forbes India, what I've done there for 730 days, they are storing this information. So is what I am doing on the net also not being tracked? The answer is yes. So we have done this, shown you here. Now, whatever information is, now one is every step I've taken, every word I've spoken, every key, every mouse movement I have done, every keystroke I have done. Now, let us talk about cameras. How many of you have got CCTV cameras installed in your house? You have a camera right in front of you. Is this not the camera that you are looking at me from? Is it easy to break into it? The answer is yes. There are sites available which say that these are unprotected cameras, and I have seen sites which are of people's homes. This is a camera which is installed in Italy. This is a camera which I am able to control here. This camera is live. I am controlling this camera. You would say, how do I know this camera has been installed in Italy? Let's look at another camera also here. Of course, I would not tell you, I mean, if you want, I can actually be able to share you also at, offline, but this is of a camera which is installed in a particular office. This could be the camera which was installed in your house. This could be the camera which was installed in your room. It's not loading in. Well, some of them time to go on, sometimes they go off. Okay, here it is. Now this is, look at this. This is an office. Of course, it's dark somewhere. Now, if this was the camera that you were handling, your camera, the one that you are trying to locate through, looking at me from, then I can also look at what you are doing. Now, okay, you asked me, okay, one of the questions would be, how do I know that this particular location was in Italy? I talked about the IP location, correct? I told you about my IP locations which were there. Somebody is taking out that information. Go to a site called iplocation.com. I am feeding in the IP address. This could be your IP address because this could be the camera that's installed in your house. I could just know that this is your camera. I could feed in that particular location. If I put in that IP location here, I'm sorry, it's, just give me a second. Okay, sorry, it's not, okay, here it comes. Okay, here it is. This is the IP location of that camera that you saw of that church in Rome, okay? Now, if this was your camera, would this also not be able to, would I not be able to find out exactly what your location was? The answer is yes. So it is, even the camera that is installed in your house is also tracking you. We talk of Wi-Fi's. How many of us have actually gone to say Cafe Coffee Day, and or we've been using it on say the airport or the railway station? We've been using it. But do you actually know who was actually giving in that setting up that Wi-Fi? Look at the times here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, this is okay. 11:07 Cafe Coffee Day. 11:10 Delhi International Airport. 11:12 Starbucks. I was the person who was sitting there with you at that particular period of time when you were there at Cafe Coffee Day or Delhi International Airport, and you were the person who was logged into my system because I had set up a hotspot and you had logged into it. And once you had logged into this information, I would have set up, I was in a position of running this particular program and getting your MAC addresses, and I would have been able to get into your system, and I would be able to track you as you go through the net. This is because you were on my Wi-Fi, so I've been able to track you here. So a public Wi-Fi, ladies and gentlemen, is a strict no-no. Please do not use it. In public, do not share your personal data on a public computer. It might have a keylogger installed. What is a keylogger? If you are suppose using my system, like how many times we actually go and use, we log into our email ID when we go on, we need to access anything from the High Court in the bar. We do it. If that was my system or I had put in a keylogger there, then the moment you went into there and you keyed in your password, I would have access to your account. Do not use your personal email IDs on there, on a public system. Do not share any personal information, because everything, every breath you take, it's being followed there. I would not just demonstrate it, but I can demonstrate. I can even take over your mobile in a fraction of 30 seconds. Think of it that it could be your daughter, your niece. How many times do we think of giving over our mobile to somebody else for the purposes of looking into what is happening there? He says that I want to look at you, make a call. He, under the garb of making a call, he just gets an SMS to himself and he installs a malware into my system and he takes over my the whole thing. He takes over. Now he has access to whatever are my personal photographs. You would have read in Chandigarh, they are installing about 1,000 CCTV cameras. What are they doing? Facial recognition. They are going to be doing facial recognition. Today, 25,621 points. Perhaps it's increased more. My one face is setting up so many different parameters for the purposes of identifying who I am. This facial recognition can be used. It is being used in banks along with my biometrics and fingerprints and passwords. They've got softwares installed there. What happens when that software provider who's using my biometric, my iris, Aadhaar has been breached? What happens when this information goes out? When this particular company called Suprema, who provides information to banks, who controls the data and their information, got breached. 28 million records got breached. Chinese researchers have developed a 500 megapixel camera. Can you understand that? We are talking of a big stadium where any person, say one person here in a 500 megapixel camera, his photograph can be picked here. Our own minister, our central ministers have said that 1900 Delhi rioters were identified by facial biometrics. Yet in India, there was no hue and cry that was raised about it. India is set to set up world's largest government facial recognition database for police use. What is going to happen with us? This is our own identity. Phishing has been one of, we started with phishing. It takes away my information. Smishing, SMSISNG. How many times we receive SMSs like this? How many times we receive SMSs which say, go on to or use a to that side on, that was about a couple of days after that. And when I checked it out, I found that this site was only created on the I went to iplocation.com and I found that this site was only created on the 4th of April. It had nothing to do with this Netflix. Okay, I took you here. Now see, 6 sites we visited, and this information was shared with 36 third-party sites. Have I given consent to this? Did you give consent to this? The answer is no. This information is being shared by them on whomsoever and whatsoever they feel like, so that this information is being mined by them under the garb that they are providing me with a better service. So if this is the way we are being tracked, it is time for us to rethink, is this the sort of information that what is the sort of information we want to give out? One of my last examples here would be, and this as lawyers, we would look at, because this is something that has happened to a lot of our clients. Perhaps going down, you would be at some stage, you would also come across this. Now, there was a bank in China and an equity firm in Britain. They were entering into an agreement. Now, we take for argument's sake that the name was financefirm.com and the bankingservice.com was the bank. They were making some equity investment into this equity firm, which was there in Britain. Now, what happened is that somebody sent a phishing mail to either the bank or to equity, and they started, and somebody just clicked that, one of the employees clicked that. Now, I, as a cyber criminal who was sitting outside, was aware of the fact that they were entering into a deal because it was all printed all over the newspapers. I sent in a phishing mail. When I sent in a phishing mail, somebody clicked on it. And when that phishing mail was clicked, I got access to every email that was being sent here. What I did is I set up a look-alike domain. Finance firm, I set up financefirms.com. Banking service, bankingservices.com. Now, when equity sent a mail from financefirm.com, I was sitting there inside the system. I was watching everything. I rechanged the word as sending, instead of bankingservice.com, it went from bankingservices.com. It's like ICICI Bank and ICICIbanks.com. But since that whole trail mail was the same, the person in the bank was not able to understand that. He started replying on the same email. And then what was happening is that all these mails were traveling in real time through me. And till that one fine day when bank was transferring money to equity, I changed the account numbers. And where did that money go? That money came to me. It did not go to equity. And this is the way how my personal details, or when a phishing attack takes place, when this information can be lost. We asked you, how many times have you downloaded an email from an unknown sender? Ladies and gentlemen, more than 40% of you have opened an email or you've downloaded. If I send you an email, I am tracking that email. The moment you open that email, I have access to the fact that yes, you have opened that email. When we are talking of COVID maps, they have been mined. They are downloading malwares into our system, and this has become one of the most commonest form of scams which are taking place. It is time for us to stop fraud. It is time for us to think, taking a moment and think before we parting with our money or our information. Think before it, could it be a fake? Okay, results are out. Ladies and gentlemen, let me see how many of you have shared that information. Okay, I've got 7 SMSs. What I did was I played a scam on you. This information, of course, I've not taken that one particular information. I played a scam on you. You gave me that information and I can break into your account had I taken that one more information which was there. It is so easy to scam. Of course, that information that you've given is safe. I will be deleting it. But what I try to show you is it is so easy it is to scam. My last thing, have you ever received a message on WhatsApp, Instagram from people you did not know? Did you download an email from an unknown sender? What is boys' locker room? What happened in boys' locker room? We had small children, class 10th, 11th, 12th, who went into groups. It could have been my own son, my own daughter. What happened is because people went there into a common WhatsApp group. So I presume, because my friend introduced me into that group, so I presume that who were the people there, they were my friend's friend. Similarly, when my friend was introduced there, he thought it was his friend's friend. But the person who was there in the beginning, who had started that group, they were people who were pedophiles. They were people who were looking at getting imagery, getting photographs, and because the children did not take sufficient precautions, what happens is they are exposed to online grooming. What is online grooming? Grooming is when someone builds an online relationship with a young person and tricks them or pressures them into doing something sexual. People are there to tell you what you need to know to keep you and others safe from online grooming. This can happen Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, chat rooms, dating apps, even on online gaming sites. They are today all online. PUBG is a very classical example. You play amongst a lot of different people. They try to set up an emotional connection, especially with young people, unmarried or married women. They are trying to fool people. They start conversations online. They start sexting. They start sending sexual videos. They want you to send your sexual videos. It does not make a difference whether you're a man or a male or a female. They want you to perform acts live on webcam. Meet up with them in person. And they are very good at it. They are pros at it. It can happen with a girl. It can happen with a boy. They start sending you a lot of messages. They try to build up that trust, that special secret which is there. They start asking you, do you trust me? But do you really trust this person who's there on the net? Ask your child, ask your nephew or your niece that every time they go onto the net, when they're talking to a person there, do they really know that person? The thumb rule is, if you do not know that person offline, you do not know that person online. They will try to find more about you. Where do you live? What do you do? Which room your computer is? Why? Who has access to your computers? Who has access to your mobile phones? Are you all the time free? They try to set up to be a virtual friend. They want to be your best friend. This person is a stranger. They will talk about nice things, your appearance. They'll talk about your body. They'll talk about anything, how beautiful you are, how handsome you look. They might talk about your looks, your black eyes. Where do they know about your black eyes? Why? Because you posted your photographs on the net. They take your personal secrets, personal details, and they start following you virtually. These are all warning signs. Tell the youngsters that these are warning signs. Be away from it. But how many of us are we actually doing it? How many of us we actually take privacy seriously? Look at this. Only 57.8% say, and they say that they have taken adequate precaution, that not anyone, only my friends can look at my photographs. I pause here. That means that 42% don't have allowed other people, because I am a stranger, I can access your Facebook site and I have information of where you stay, what you do, who are your friends, who is your family, and I have access to all your information. I pause here. I take you back to that metadata. I take you back to that photograph. That photograph also told me, which you have uploaded on on Facebook or on Instagram, where do you stay? Where did you take that photograph? Which hotels did you visit? Do you know everyone in your friends list on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat? The answer, 43% says no. It's a very candid admission. And this includes youngsters, it includes adults. Look at this. 10.9%, 11% have admitted that they have been harassed online. They have another 7.8, 11% say by people they do not know. Yes, by person I know is another 7.9%. So I'm talking about 20% of the people have been harassed online. But unfortunately, how many of us did actually share this further? You see, this particular person who harassed me, that 20%, he went scot-free. Why? Because I did not, 48.2%, 50% of us did not share it with our friends, did not share it with other people, because had I shared it with my friend, because he had access to what was happening with me, was happening with my, he would do that same with my friends, because he had got that data from my Facebook, from my Instagram, from my WhatsApp. If I do not share that further, that next person would not know how to handle it. He would not understand, he or she would not understand how to control it. I can give you a very classic example of what has happened with my son's friends, and I'm talking of girls. One of the girls receives an SMS or a WhatsApp message, a Telegram message, sorry, it was a WhatsApp message saying that this XYZ, you need to share, I'm just sending you this information, please share your, the particular code which is coming to you. She shares this code further to the person who shared this message. The moment she shared this message, her WhatsApp account was taken over. This particular person now, since her WhatsApp account was taken over, whosoever were the other girls in her WhatsApp group and in her WhatsApp accounts, he started sending similar messages from her account. Now, the friend of this particular person, since she receives a message from her friend, she got a similar message. She shared that information thinking that she's sharing that particular password with her friend. Her account was also compromised. This particular person, end of the day, we know of at least 4 girls' accounts have been taken over, and what he started doing was he started making obscene video calls in a state of undress to these girls. I called up, I tried to figure out what if I could get control from WhatsApp. I could take some assistance. They do not have a contact. Truecaller does not have a contact in India. They do not have a contact number. I sent in an email. I got a response after 72 hours. You can understand what is happening to those girls. When we are talking of anything to be faked, even the voice of the person who's there on the other side, even that can also be faked. Let us take this example. Okay, here it is. Okay, for all you know, when you receive a phone call, you think that you are talking to a person who is known to you. Okay, so I do a recording of this.
There's some problem.
I see that I am talking to you.
So there's some problem of voice at your end.
Yes, because this is converted into the voice of an old woman. It has converted the voice. This free program is converting my voice in real time. Now, am I okay now?
Sir, yes, sir.
Vishal, voice is okay now?
Yeah, it's fine now.
So what I tried to show you is I could have, it could was an old woman, it could have been a young girl who's trying to make a fool out of me, but they were all scamsters out there. So never meet up a person. The test is simple. Tell your children, would grandma approve of this? Would mom and dad approve of this? If no, don't message, don't talk, don't share. But you need to talk. If anything happens with your child, with your niece or your nephew, or even with you, we need to talk with others so as to make them aware of what is happening. In case of an emergency, 1098 is available day in and day out. Ransomware, why, this is the last part. Why is all this economy so important? In 2018, the cybercrime revenue was 1.5 trillion. It was 2.9 million per minute. We are talking of phishing is $17,700 a minute. So you can understand why they're so interested in getting your information. One mobile app is blacklisted every day. Ransomware attacks, 2.4 phishing sites are created per minute. 7 malicious redirections are detected per minute. 1 instance of malware is detected every 25 minutes. These criminal organizations are working on the darknet. What is the darknet? You know, if we talk of the darknet, the net is what we surf on through Google or through Bing or through Yahoo. It's barely about 4% of it. Another add about 8, 10%, 15% of it is where our medical records, our banking records, or legal documents like we have on our own High Court site, that's where the information where you have to give out your personal information to access those. They are password protected. But what we call as the dark web is where all the good things in life happen. That's where drug trafficking happens. That's political unrest happens. That's where good things and bad things can happen. Are you now on this site is where information regarding me is being sold. This is where my personal identification information is being sold. This is where my email is sold. This is where my password was being sold. Okay, you could go to this site called mibreached.com and you could just put in, say your, of course, I've shown you that it was already breached, but what are this information that is available on the darknet regarding me? So it's not working as of now. But this information would tell me what information is there. And these sites which are there, they are much like our own Amazon. Now, Silk Road, as you see on the top left, was one of the most famous sites. What do you find here? You got rates here. You got products here. You get drugs, cannabis, ecstasy, opioids. You get books, computers. You get drugs, electronics, erotica, fireworks. You can get guns. You can get pistols. You name it, you'll find it there. And why is this so popular? Why is it that cyber criminals always get away with it? Because they are anonymous. For every 100 complaints, every 1,000 complaints which are there, you know how many are reported? 100 are reported. Why? Because when the cyber scam takes place with us, we don't share it. We don't tell anybody else. Out of every 1,000, 100 are reported, and how many of them are actually cracked is between 8 to 10. So how many people can we actually think are going to be actually penalized for it? So please, when we are talking of cybersecurity, think of a few things. Are you getting more than what you bargained for? Was that mobile set which was for 50,000 bucks? Why are you getting it for 10,000 bucks? Is it too good to be true? 5,000 for a 20,000 product is too good to be true. I'll just get stones there. Do your research. Don't take a bargain at face value. Check out the sites. Look at reviews. Is it a good site? Is it a bad site? Think twice before clicking on links in an email. If you click on a link in an email, I might be the person who's installed a malware into your system. Now is the question I put to you again. Do you actually care about your privacy? Can you answer that question? Did you actually care about your privacy? Ladies and gentlemen, that is from me. Thank you. I hope we become cyber warriors. If we go and teach out at least one person more, and that one person teaches one more, we'll have a better cyber world. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. What an amazing session it has been. But I don't know whether I should be more happy or more scary about it after seeing it actually. It actually is, as they say it in crude words, that it scared the shit out of me, and probably everyone listening to it. We feel really unsafe from today onwards. And probably the first thing we should be doing is all of us should be buying a Nokia 3310.
Oh yes.
It doesn't have an internet. It doesn't have anything. It just makes calls. Probably that is the only thing which helps. And of course, there are a lot of questions over here, which will be, I'll just start asking, sir. But thank you very much. It's been an amazing session with you. And we've got a lot of knowledge. And of course, the first question which a lot of people have been asking is, what is the solution? You already discussed it, but still people would like to know what is the solution to all these things? A general solution which they want.
You see, there is only one solution, as I said. It's you. It's you yourself. How much information and at what cost are you ready to give about yourself? Perhaps a lot of us have already crossed that level, crossed that stage. As we go further, especially like GDPR has brought in that do not follow me, remove me. Those provisions are there in GDPR. Unfortunately, when we're talking of the data privacy law which is coming into India, unfortunately, these provisions have been watered down now. We really don't know when we reach the final stage of what are the sort of final provisions that are going to come in. But yes, the thumb rule is, like, was that UNDIPR unique ID important to you for you to share that information? If that answer was no, then don't share that information. What would you have got out of that UNDIPR? Nothing. Is that small little thing which comes from Reliance Web Store or from Flipkart, $200, which asks me more information? Like when I go to a Reliance store, what does it do? It tells me, please register here. On your birthday or on your anniversary, you will get a 20% discount. But what is the information which I've given there? I've given my name, I've given my address, I've given my telephone number, I've given my email ID, I've given them my birth date, I've given them everything. This information is being mined. This information is sold to Facebook. Facebook sells that further information to others. They combine that information and create that whole picture about it. Now they know that I go to Reliance store and I do these purchases. And so that information is now being collated. You see that every time that you've done anything is being shared. 730 days I showed you that information is being shared by that particular site I do not know of. So it is for you to decide how much information you want to give out. Because technically, the site I am going to go to is going to be breached. Google has been breached. There's nothing bigger than Google. Twitter has been breached. What happened in Twitter? It was a phishing email which hit Twitter, which brought down Twitter accounts of the like of Barack Obama. So that human error is always going to be there. The choice is yours.
So one more question will, in fact, what I'd like to ask is, presuming I keep the net connection switched off on my mobile, I'm using it only as a mobile most of the time, not always, most of the time when it is required. Does that help?
You are being tracked through those towers. How 4G or 5G or 3G works is that there are 3 towers who are following your location at any given period of time. So that one of those 3 towers who has the best connection gets you joined there. So the moment you are switching over from one tower to other, you are being tracked.
Irrespective of whether I'm using an internet
Yes.
or not.
Irrespective of that. Oh. When you are using the internet, what is happening is that those 100 apps that you have installed there, out of which 30 of which you have given a location yes to, they are also tracking you.
There's a question. It says, I was using my Yahoo account for more than 2 decades. Suddenly and shockingly, Yahoo team deactivated my account. I'm a lawyer by profession. My data is stored there, including pandemic petition files. I had various communications with them, but they bluntly said they won't activate it. What can be done in this case?
Vishal, I think I'll take them back to the present Consumer Protection Act. Why not sue them there? They are providing me a service. They are collecting information from me. And the present Consumer Protection Act is protecting me to that extent. Take them there.
Okay. We've already discussed, although there's a question that your thoughts on Data Protection Act, which is under discussion these days.
I would not like to actually get into it, because what is going to happen after 6 months with all those wise men sitting in the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha, and how our government is going to do it. I mean, the way it has been watered down over the last, from Shri Krishna's report to today, it is not funny.
There's another question which puts us also thinking. It says, how good is the idea of using Zoom for conducting webinar on cybersecurity, which itself is a highly vulnerable platform?
No, what is vulnerability about it is a question mark. If today 50 of us are sitting here and we are just talking, what is the personal information that we are giving out apart from an email ID? My email IDs are even otherwise they were available on the net. So we need to understand am I actually sharing some personal information here? If I'm not sharing my personal information, I'm okay with it. Right? Of course, it comes with a caveat, because this can be done with a lot of things, and Zoom is of course collecting data also. But Why Zoom? You take up Cisco WebEx, or you take up Geo, or you take any one of them. Each one of them is collecting our information. Each one of them is capable of being breached. No matter whatever is the sort of security levels they may have created, that information still can be taken out by somebody. Because a cyber criminal, he is always thinking 2 steps ahead of a person who is designing that platform, who is designing that software. Because his money comes from there. He is looking for a weakness that is there in the software. As a lawyer, I can say so that each one of us, when we do a case, we also know of a weakness in our case. So same thing is applicable also on because a human is a person who's designing that software. So it's going to happen. We talk of Microsoft when we talk of 0-day errors which are taking place. What is it? 0-day error is something which has been there for last couple of years, perhaps 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, but it's only been discovered today. But if a cyber criminal finds it first, he makes money out of it. So each platform has its own pluses and minuses, and there's nothing known as secure. When banks can be breached,
Yes.
then what is security left about it?
So there's a question on this also in continuation, which says that is Yahoo also doing the same thing, and Apple iOS, all these things? Are they also doing the same thing?
Why is Yahoo giving me a free email ID for the last 20 years? Why is Google giving me free everything on the net for the last 15 years? There's nothing known as a free lunch. Google today is the richest company in the world without providing or without charging for services. I think that should answer the question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They said there's a question that says RBI just from yesterday started a restrictions on transaction by ATM cards for online purchases. It can only be used at ATM or POS. Indeed, it's a great step. What could be the next step of hackers according to you for making online payment frauds?
You see, I always say that don't ever use your debit card for the purposes of making an online transaction. Because if you've lost that 5 rupees, it's never going to come back. If you have to use it, use your credit card, transfer money into your credit card and use it. Because if there is a loss, and with RBI's notifications of 3 days, you have to give the intimation, etc., then the losses of the bank, it is not your loss. Having said that, if I talk of credit cards, or I talk of any card for that matter, or I talk of an ATM card. Today in ATM machines, 8 out of 10 have vintage Windows XP which has been installed. Windows XP has been outdated by Windows. Windows XP is not receiving any updates. It is one of the easiest, cyber criminals, one of the easiest thing is to break into a Windows XP platform. And it is not unknown when you have things which are installed onto ATM machines also. I leave that aside. But each ATM is linked to or through the internet using a vintage XP machine. The possibility of an ATM being hacked is very, very, very high. Unfortunately, in India, because we do not have a Data Protection Act as of date, and as I showed you, railways got breached. That information never came into the public domain. Aadhaar got breached. I've got so much of information on Aadhaar. I can show that it has got breached. But that information never comes into the public domain. Why? Because our data, we don't have a Data Protection Act where it is not statutorily required to declare in case a breach is taking place. So if I get breached, I do not inform you. I don't inform the public. So everybody is like an ostrich. We have our head under the ground and everything is good. It's like you reduce testing on COVID and everything becomes good. So that's the situation we are in.
There's a very interesting question. It says, what's your take on couple challenges or any challenge on the Facebook which people take for fun? Should we take such challenges?
Okay. A lot of you have answered to a quiz which I sent you. I answered a survey. Well, I was a person whom you can trust on, who has protected your data and your information. If the same thing happens on Facebook, when I set that up on Facebook, do you know whom you have shared that information with? Do you know how that information and what that information you have given out, what is that being used for? How many times have you actually, when you've done a quiz, say on Facebook, or you've done it on LinkedIn or wherever you want to, have you given out your personal identification information? When you're talking of a couple challenge, are we not giving out a lot of my personal information? Are we not giving out information of my relationships? If you do not know who is collecting that information, please do not fill in a quiz. That information would be used against you. Do not give out any more information than is required. If you have to give it, I was born on 30th of April, whichever year, I can still be born in 1980. I can stay in Delhi. I can be Donald Trump. I showed that to you. I have multiple email IDs. I can, there are various free email platforms which are available. In fact, if you look at Yahoo itself, Yahoo allows you to create on your same email ID up to 500 other email IDs where you will receive the email onto your main Yahoo account. In case of Gmail, suppose Vishal, you have Vishal Agarwal at gmail.com. If you fill in vishal.agarwal@gmail.com, email ID becomes different, but it'll still come back to your same email. Or you put in v.i.s.h. It'll still come, it becomes a different email ID as far as the computer is concerned or the net is concerned. But then if anybody, if your particular, this email ID is breached or anybody is sharing that information, then you're able to identify who's done that. And there are a lot of other sites where you can give in your, you can generate those 5-minute or 10-minute fake email addresses, and you could just use that for logging in.
Since we're running out of time, just two more questions. The second last question would be, one of them says that Aadhaar card is being asked on many sites, even Facebook has asked for it or anything, or it's like Google Pay asks for it or so much. What should we do about it if they ask for Aadhaar card and suppose they make it mandatory as well?
If it makes it, if it is made mandatory, it is again for you to decide you want to use that service or not. I am very clear on the fact that if my biometrics is going out, if my iris scan is going out, my thumbprint is going out, and if that has gone out once, it is not like my email ID which can be changed. It's not like my password which has been changed. This can never be changed. It's going to be there forever and ever. The choice is yours. I would not do it.
Great. And the last question they say is something which everyone would have it is, should we stop using all these things and revert back? That is what they want.
We can't do that. In fact, even if you want to revert back, half of us have already lost the game.
Lost it. 90% probably.
We've already lost the game. We can only take further precautions.
Thank you, sir. What a wonderful and amazing session. It has been an absolute eye-opener for everyone. And I suppose everyone in future would at least be educating 5 more people, not one. You said one. According to me, it will be 5 more people they'll be educating. 5 family members and maybe outside also. An amazing session. We'll, of course, to all our viewers, we must tell you that we'll be uploading it on our YouTube channel also. You can always watch it again, and all the websites sir has told and everything. You can always take note and use them as well. So thank you for that. And now I go on to Mr. Padam for a formal vote of thanks, please.
Okay, okay, just Padam, just a minute. I'd, in fact, you would have also received a link if you would, because we were just for a formal release. We were working on that ebook. A lot of you have already registered.
Yes.
A lot of more things we are covered in that ebook also. So if you could just share your email IDs on that link, we'll be sharing that in the near future also on that.
Perfect. 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 Done. Yes, Padma.
Thank you, Vishal. In fact, when I joined practice in 2004 in the office of senior advocate, I had been reading Punjab Law Reporter, and most of us have been reading PLR. And I always read Mr. Suri's name there, being one of the editors, but never read ER, engineer, in front of that Sandeep Suri. So today we saw a different person today altogether, from a lawyer to a cyber security expert. I am very thankful for today's eye-opening lecture, as Vishal rightly said. And at least I was awestruck. Even I don't use Facebook for last maybe 6 years, but still Mr. Suri said that even you are not using it, deactivated, but still the data is still there. We always have been very casual in our approach towards our own cyber privacy, but for sure today onwards we'll be more vigilant and more we'll take care of all things in future, as Mr. Suri told us. We all from Team Informal Webinars are very grateful to Mr. Suri for this eye-opening session and making us aware of the threat looming around us. For 24 hours, every day, we are using mobiles and laptops and everything. We cannot escape these things, as Sir told. Because we have to go through this lecture on YouTube at least 5 times and then learn things and to get ourselves secure for our betterment and for our family's betterment. Thank you so much, sir, for spending time for us and for this wonderful lecture. Though it took 2 hours, but it never felt we could not. We could see people glued to the screens and hearing you patiently. Thank you, everybody, for giving their time and participating in our today's session. Thank you all for this time.